Hello, I'm Alan Pope, developer advocate on Telegraph at Influx Data.
And I'm Scott Anderson, a tech lead on the product team at Influx Data.
Hi, Scott. So today we're talking about joining data in Flux. When do we actually need to join data?
There are two primary use cases for joining data. The first one is if you're trying to combine two data sets with completely different schemas. The second is if you're trying to combine data sets from two completely different data sources.
And we've got an example here. Can you walk me through it?
Absolutely. So a really common use case with InfluxDB is storing sensor data from sensors on a production line or other types of sensors that exist out there. So for example, we have data that's identified by a sensor ID. We're collecting temperature values and storing that value as time series data in InfluxDB. But also with sensor deployments, it's really common to have asset management data stored in a relational database that provides other metadata about each of those specific sensors. So in this case, you can see that our two data sets share a common column, sensor ID, and that is absolutely required to be able to join these data sets. So here we are, we have a join function. With the tables parameter, we specify which streams of tables to join or which data sets to join. So we have our metrics and our assets data sets that we're joining together. We want to join on their common column, sensor ID. So the resulting output table will look something like this. For every unique sensor ID, every unique value in the column that we're joining on, we'll get an output row. That output row will include columns from each of the joined data sets. In this case, we inherit the field and the value columns from the time series data stored in InfluxDB, and we inherit the status column stored as part of the asset management data in a relational database. With these combined data sets, we can then begin to draw conclusions from the enriched data.
Awesome. So other query languages have different join types. What join types are supported by Flux?
So right now, Flux only supports inner joins, but there's plans for the near future to add support for other types of joins, like outer joins, left joins, and right joins.
Great. Are there any gotchas using joins with Flux?
The most common gotcha that I've seen is when you're trying to join on time. So to join on two values, to join two data sets based on a value, those values have to be identical. So with time, if you have a 1 nanosecond difference between two timestamps, those data sets won't join correctly. You can do things to normalize that data. So in the case of time, you can reduce the precision of the timestamp to something like seconds or milliseconds, which will then allow you to join those data sets correctly.
Okay. We have another video on the channel about pivoting data in Flux. When should you use pivot and when should you use join?
That's a great question, and it all has to do with the schema of your data that you're trying to join. The use cases for both functions really centers around shaping the data to align values in rows so that you can then operate on those values at the same time. If you need to combine data from data sets that have a mostly different schema, you need to use join. But if you have two separate data sets with identical schemas, you can actually union those streams together and then use pivot to pivot the data into rows, which is actually more efficient.
Okay, I see. Thanks very much, Scott.
Absolutely. Hopefully this helps you, and I'm excited to see what you build.